So just a few words about why this is so important to me and to us. We are the descendants of the African grandmothers who braided millet, rice, sorghum, and cowpeas into their hair before boarding transatlantic slave ships, believing against odds in a future of tilling and reaping and nourishing community on soil. Despite being part of the 12.5 million Africans who were kidnapped to work the agricultural fields of the Americas for tobacco and cotton and indigo and sugar, generating $10 trillion of wealth on our own backs that has fortified this country, our ancestors decided to take a little piece of land with them and a little piece of hope with them. We are also the descendants of the Muskogee Creek, Black Seminole, and Great Dismal Swamp Maroons, hundreds of Maroon communities, people who formed alliances, Black Indigenous alliances against their enslavers. And this was despite the risk, starting in the 1700s, of the slave patrols that used dogs and fire and terror to track us down, to track our ancestors down. Despite the first police forces in 1704 being formed specifically to subjugate Black people, we still escaped and we built autonomous communities where we didn't have land ownership, actually. We had communal land stewardship. We are the descendants of the warriors of Little Bighorn and the Sioux Uprising of 1862 and the Sand Creek Uprising and Wounded Knee and hundreds of other indigenous uprisings. Even as the settler colonizers advanced their so-called manifest destiny, their belief that it was their God-given right to invade, search out, and I quote, capture, vanquish, and subdue and enslave all non-Christian nations and reduce their people to perpetual slavery, we resisted. We are the descendants of the Black farmers who purchased 120,738 farms, amassing 16 million acres of land with their Sunday money by 1910. This is despite the broken promise of 40 acres and a mule, right? That never happened, the reparations never happened. In fact, they gave reparations to the so-called masters for losing their property. And together, we formed free Black towns: Nicodemus, Pembroke, Mombayo, Eatonville, Blackton, Hobson, Allensworth, Bowley, Oklahoma, Brentwood, Greenwood, Creek Nation, Blackdom. And so we were landowners together, right? And we were entrepreneurs together. And this is despite, and even as the Homestead Act was giving away indigenous lands, 270 million acres of it, to white colonizer settlers. We are the descendants of Shirley and Charles Sherrod, who formed the first community land trust in the United States of America, New Communities in Albany, Georgia, owning 5,700 acres together. We are also the descendants of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's collective across the street on 4,500 acres, and Fannie Lou Hamer's Freedom Farm Cooperative, which provided land, food, scholarships, and loans to community members across Mississippi. And this is even as white supremacists launched a terror campaign against our people, lynching over 4,500 Black people for the audacity not to be sharecroppers, for the audacity to own our own businesses and to take control over our own lives. We are the descendants of Larry Itliong and the 1,500 Filipino-American workers who actually started the grape strike, which is often credited to Chavez and Puerta, who jumped in later. So we are descendants of those Asian-American farm workers who fed the community and resisted the unfair policies, such as the exclusion of farm workers from the New Deal, the Fair Labor Standards Act, the National Labor Relations Act, and fought for fair wages and fair rights for our community. We're the descendants of the people who had the audacity to sue the US government in the Pickford v. Glickman case and win the largest civil rights settlement in 1999 against the USDA for decades of discrimination against our people, for the USDA being the #1 driver of Black folks off of our land through systemic exclusion from credit programs, systemic and exclusion from technical assistance, and all of the entitlements that farmers have to governmental assistance. So this ain't new, y'all. We've been doing this. We've been doing the freedom thing, the get free on land thing, the share, the how do we not own it all by ourselves? How do we not just buy into the capitalist settler colonialism that has been imposed upon us? We've been doing this thing. And so we are on a long, long legacy. And this is historic. Because I've talked to a lot of land trust folks in the Northeast, and they said never before has a gathering of this size led by and centering people of color about land happened in this region, and maybe not ever in this country. So this is historic, and it also is building upon a legacy.
That's right.
That's right. So, here we are. So here we are, and I just want to say I'm so grateful to our team of presenters. We have with us some of the elders and up-and-coming lawyers and activists who have really shaped the movement, particularly for Black farmers. So folks who've been involved deeply in the Center for, in the new communities, in the working world, in the reparations work in the South. We have like the leaders right here in the room who are donating their time today to help us skill up. So a big shout out to Clark Arrington and Anna Kilson and Patty Guzman, thank you so much. And please do read their bios because they're going to help us catalyze probably several, land trusts in this region, cooperatives, reparations, and learn how to actually, make the resources we need on our land. So in a moment, I'm going to call up my good friend, Randolph Carr, who is an organizer focused on land reparations in the National Black Food and Justice Alliance, and he's going to share with us how this work in our region connects nationally, right? But we're going to finish out with a little chant. So when I say free the people, you say free the land. Free the people! Free the land!